Hey everyone, welcome to the KE report and a company update from Novo Resources. I'm going to be asking the company what's happening now in Australia after its JV partner on one of its projects on the Egina JV was in the process of being bought out by Northern Star. That is De Grey Mining, and that deal valued at Australian dollars $5 billion. Company also generated some cash through the sale of a portion of its holdings of San Cristobal Mining, and also get an exploration update. So joining me on this call is Mike Spreadborough, Executive Co-Chairman of Novo Resources. Novo is traded NVO on the TSX and the Australian Exchange, as well as on the OTCQX under the symbol NSRPF. So, Mike, I've received a lot of questions on the back of that news of De Grey being bought by Northern Star. Again, let's cycle this around to this Egina JV that De Grey has been aggressively drilling. What does that mean for this JV and Novo Resources?
Yeah, thanks, Cory, and really great to catch up with you and your listeners. So I think first thing, let's remind ourselves on what is the Egina joint venture. So we signed this joint venture with De Grey June last year over the Besha tenements, and they're right adjacent to De Grey's. It is now a 3.6 million ounce resource. They put a resource update out. So 3.6 million ounce resource that's right adjacent to our tenements, and that's why De Grey's there. They love the geology. They like it. They've been drilling all the way through this year. We're looking for a very large system, so it takes a while. It's undercover, so it takes a while to actually find the intrusions, but that work's been going really well. So De Grey have just completed the $7 million minimum spend, so they now have a window of spending $18 million Australian to June 2027, and that will provide the joint venture being formed and both parties having 50%. So it still remains a fantastic asset. So back to where you started, Northern Star, $5 billion Australian for De Grey. That's a huge amount of money. It doesn't close until kind of May next year once they get through all the legal stuff. But I think it's actually positive for our Egina joint venture. Northern Star are paying top dollar, so they must like what they see in De Grey, and that means they must like the geology and the mineralisation. And it doesn't matter how they push that project, they will be looking for potential mill feed to their processing plants. And there's no better place to get that mill feed than from our territory. So in the long run, I don't think it'll have any impact, but I actually think it is a positive for shareholders that someone like Northern Star are very interested in what we're doing in the Pilbara.
So what about current drilling at this Egina JV then? Are there drills turning? Can we expect drills to be turning even before this deal closes?
Yeah, so as people probably realise, Pilbara gets a bit hot and a bit wet, and cyclone season. I think we're actually getting the first cyclones forming off the coast in the very northern part of Western Australia at the moment. So De Grey completed drilling in kind of early November, and all of the results from that drilling we've released to the market. They've done some more field work since then, and our expectation, depending on whether they'll be back drilling sometime in late February next year, and that'll progress that program going forward. So we all take a bit of a break at this time and get back going in the new year.
So, Mike, what about the whole exploration plan then? As a transition happens out of De Grey into Northern Star, what happens? What will happen to the exploration team at this JV?
Look, too early to say. I'm sure behind the scenes, Northern Star and De Grey will have a good conversation about, people. At the end of the day, De Grey are the managers of that joint venture, and somewhere along the way, when this deal is completed, Northern Star will, progress management of that joint venture. And I'm sure as we progress sometime next year, De Grey Northern Star will sit down and give us a good briefing on their revised plans and personnel for the program. But I do acknowledge De Grey have been a great partner to date. Their team have been very, very, collaborative. We've worked together very well, and we look forward to that great continuation with Northern Star, and also keep looking for good mineralisation and hopefully resource potential.
All right. Well, Mike, when we get more information on that, then I'll follow up with you. I know I'm still getting a lot of questions on that. Let's talk about some other news, more in terms of strictly Novo and more on the exploration front. December 4th, just a couple days ago, you announced that you generated $11.5 million Australian through the sale of a portion of your holdings in San Cristobal Mining. Now this brings cash in the company up to over 16 million Australian. What's the strategy around selling these shares, and what's this cash going to be used for?
Yeah, so in our quarterly update back in October, we did announce that we were looking to dispose of some of the San Cristobal holdings. So it's been good that we've been able to do that. Probably shows the quality of the San Cristobal asset that we have been able to sell about 40% of it. I think a couple of things are really exciting here. One is the fact that we've been able to sell it, I think shows that asset is quite liquid. And whilst it's unlisted investment, it has great potential going forwards. I think the other side of it is the sale price is higher than what we show through our financials. So that's a great uplift for everyone. Overall, that investment's been really good for shareholders when we provided the initial seed money to allow the San Cristobal business to be purchased. So overall, a real positive for us. It brings some money into the bank. And as we have noted in the release, we do need to pay $3 million IMC as part of pulling down what is at the moment $15.6 million deferred consideration. Now it will be 12.6 by the time we pay this 3 million Australian. And I do need to remind people that we did talk, I think, in the news release that we owe about 1.4 million Australian in tax because of this divestment. So all up, a great outcome. It does provide money for us to really consider what opportunities we can move into in the new year. But all up, a good outcome. I think it also now shows that people should value that investment that we have in terms of our enterprise value going forwards.
Well, it also says that you still hold a number of shares, right? So currently, what's the remaining shareholding approximate value that you have in San Cristobal?
Yeah, I'll probably get this wrong, but we still have 1.2 million shares remaining, which sits somewhere around about, I think, around $18 million Australian. So it's still a good investment that we have on our sheet. And, we don't have any plans to monetize that at the moment. But importantly, it is there if we can find the right buyers at the right time, if we need to support our exploration program going forwards.
So what are the exploration plans going forward then, Mike? Talk to me about what areas could be getting drilled, what some of the plans are as we head into next year.
Yeah, so a bit like we talked about De Grey, we've finished all of our drilling programs and all of the drilling information from those programs are out. People will see an update in the next couple of weeks regarding the closure of all the work that we've done in the Pilbara this year. So there'll be a good update on that. As I talked about De Grey, we actually close shop for most of January. It gets too hot, too wet to go exploring, and our people take annual leave and get a bit of refresh. So we'll be back on the ground doing things in February. We will be planning to go drilling again about mid-February. So you'll see us put out an announcement late January, early February, outlining our exploration plans for the first half of next year. Whilst we do take a break, our teams are busy analysing the data, looking at the results, and for us really considering what are the best priorities going forwards. So people should look forward to that update, as I said, late January, early February on our projects going forwards.
Mike, do you have a general idea of how much money you might spend next year on exploration?
Yeah, really good question. Probably not yet, Cory. It's something we'll include in our update because we're just really working through what that exploration program will be. But as we've talked about before, we like to be aggressive explorers. We like to be drilling holes, even if it's to early stage targets, to determine whether we should, keep drilling. So we will continue to plan to do 9 to 10 drill months for the 2025. We just really need to understand the best priorities to give us best bang for buck.
Okay. So, Mike, anything else that we should be paying attention to in terms of news that could be coming, catalysts around the corner?
Look, nothing particularly kind of new that we can talk about today, but people should just keep an eye on the news flow. Even though it's Christmas, as I said, we've got at least a Pilbara update that will come out shortly, and anything new will kind of pop out. I can't help but lastly note that the gold price is still strong, so that's wonderful out for our business and looking for gold as an explorer.
Okay. Mike, thank you for this update. Again, everybody, please keep sending me your questions. Click that link in the show notes to read over the recent news from the Novo Resources website. Mike, thank you for addressing these questions. I'll follow up with you on the back of some more news.
Fantastic, Cory. Thanks very much.